Okay, all right. So anyway, what can we do with this? How much was it? All right. 144. Okay. What's the sale going to be? I don't know. That's what I'm doing. I don't know which ones I sold unless I know which method it is. Got it? So that's what I'm going to be computing. So this one I don't know. Right? What's 18 times 10? I can do that one. 180. Okay. What's the sale going to be? I don't know. Now imagine, of course, you've got hundreds of these a month or thousands a month, depending on how much products like, how many customers you have. You have the idea? So the computer does it over and over and over for you. You just have to get it set up. What's 17 times 11 for this one? 187. Okay. So do I know what my total purchases are? Sure, just add them up. Right? Do I know what my beginning inventory is? Sure. Okay? So no matter what I do here, I know this stuff. Okay? So here we go. Let's do inventory in units and inventory in dollars. Okay? Okay, here we go. So how many units do I start with beginning inventory? See it there? 16. Now we have to keep them in order for perpetual. Because with perpetual you can't sell something unless you already have it, right? Okay, because you're keeping track of it all the time. For periodic you don't care when you buy it. Right? Periodic, you record all your sales before you, or rather all your purchases before you record any sales. Everybody got it? You pretend you bought everything before you sold anything, which is absurd, but that's what you do. Okay? But people didn't used to have computers, so periodic was much easier without a computer. Doing it by hand was a real pain. So if I was selling diamonds, I'd use perpetual inventory even before there were computers. Right? If I was selling bread, no way in the world would I do that. Now I might use perpetual with bread. Why? There's a barcode on every loaf of bread. Right? Keep track of them as I sell them, as I buy them. Of course, I don't scan every single one of the Kroger as the bread comes in. I don't scan every single one. I do it by the pallet, right? And how many loaves of bread are on the pallet? Okay, when it comes in. Okay? And all my products are that way. All right, so that's 16. Well, could I do that with the dollars too? Well, sure. What's beginning inventory in dollars, you guys? 144. Then what happens? It's the 144 over here, right? We just calculated it. So have that on your quiz. You got it made, huh? Okay, what happens first? Yeah, they got a sale. Okay, I have a sale 1. This is going to be sale 1. She left some room here, as always. Sale 1 was how many units?
12.
12. How many units do you have left right now?
4.
4. So you can keep track of where you're at the whole time, can't you? Nothing to it. But do I know for that first sale, this is sale 1, do I know for that first sale what it cost? No, not until I know which method I'm using. Got it? I don't know. All right? So then what happens? We happen to have, the next one was a purchase, wasn't it? Okay? Happens to be. What if I did a purchase first? Well, then put that in first. Okay? So purchase 1 is how much there on the 15th? 18 units. How many do you have right now?
22.
22. Everybody good? So you can keep doing that if you want. You don't need to do this total every time. It doesn't make any difference. But you see what's happening? It's 22 now in my inventory. Okay? 4 plus 18. All right? And purchase 1, how many dollars is it? It's 180. So I do know the purchase cost, don't I? I just don't know the sales price. And the purchase cost is the same no matter what inventory method you're using, of course. Right, guys? Okay. So we got that. Okay, then what will we do? What happens next? Well, first we have sale. Careful. Sale 2, right? Got to put them in order. Got to keep them in order. So how many were sale 2 here? How many units you sell? 19. Everybody see it? Come on, wake up, you guys. 19. You're going to really want to know how to do this. All right, so how many units are left? 3 at that point. Everybody got the idea? So the inventory is going up and down as you buy and sell. Big deal. Okay, so, but I don't know how much that is, so I don't know this one, and I don't know this one. My job is, ever seen Mission Impossible? All right, anyway, my task is to figure those out. That's it. Okay? Big deal. All right, so then what happens? Anything else? I happen to give you one more purchase, so I can give you as many sales or purchases, doesn't make any difference. Okay, so purchase 2, I guess is all it is, their second purchase. How many is that? 17. How many units do you have in your ending inventory no matter which method you use? 20. I think the ending inventory is 20 units, and that, if you don't know that, you're done, right? You just can't do the problem, okay? All right, so how much did those cost for purchase 1? 187. Big deal. Even I can do this. Okay, so what do we got? I'd like to know what? I'd like to know what sale 1 is. I'd like to know what sale 2 is. And if I knew those, I could take the beginning inventory plus my 2 purchases, less my 2 sales, and what would I have? Beginning inventory plus your purchases less your cost of goods sold. What do you think it is? I think it's your ending inventory. So I'd have what this ending inventory is. So I don't know the ending inventory here because I don't know those 2 sales. If I did, I'd have it made, right? Now here's the deal. Under periodic, all I do is I calculate the ending inventory and I back into my cost of goods sold. I don't have to calculate the sales, the cost of the sales, right? Independent. Under perpetual, you have to calculate the cost of goods sold as you go forward. Because you're going to make a journal entry under perpetual. I have to know what? How much I'm going to debit cost of goods sold and how much I'm going to credit inventory for each one of the sales. That's it. For periodic, I don't need to know that. I can just wait till the end, right? And back into cost of goods sold. So that's all I'm doing. So with both methods, what I want to do then is I want to start with, so this would be cost of goods sold on my income statement, okay? I want to start with beginning inventory. I'm going to add purchases. So this is another way you could set it up. That's going to give me available. This is really clever. Beginning inventory plus purchases is what's available. What I started with plus what I bought is what I have. No kidding. Okay? That's all we're doing. Subtract the ending inventory, and what do we have? What will that be? Of course. The goods sold, right? That's cost of goods sold. And we're there. And that's what we put on our income statement. Either way, whether it's perpetual or periodic doesn't make any difference. It's going to happen either way. The reason I put 2 columns, I want to do it for units, okay? And I want to do it for dollars. So tell me what I already know. By the way, you don't have to do it both ways. You can either set it up this way, or you can set it up this way, or do both, I don't care. Okay, what could we do here? What's beginning inventory? How many units? 16. How many dollars were those? 144. We know, don't we? How many units did I buy? Now be careful, there's 2 purchases. How many did I buy? 18 plus 17, how many is that? 35? Tell you what, if you started with 16 and you bought 35, how many would you have available? What's that? Is that 51? I think so, don't you? I got 51 available that I can sell, right? I can either keep them or sell them. All right, how much did those 35 cost that I purchased? Can you do that? What is it? 180 plus 187, 180 plus 187. Everybody agree with that? How much is that? 367. Very good. So how many dollars do I have available? What did those 51 cost me? I think it's 144 plus 367. What do you guys think? How much is that? 511? 511. Okay, 511. Excellent. Okay, everybody good? I know what they cost. I know how many there are. I'm in pretty good shape. So now what I want to do, well, how many units were available? 51. How many do I have left at the end? We already calculated that, didn't we? It's 20, isn't it? So if I take 20 out in the inventory here, how many must I have sold? 51 less 20 is 31. Well, did I sell 31? Look at my 2 sales. What are they? 12 and 19. What is that total, of course? 31. Which are the 31 up here, right? And it's just too easy. 12, 19. Okay, so 31. So what I want to know is this number and this number, right? The ending inventory and therefore the cost of goods sold. It'll be different for each of the 6 methods, okay? Different numbers, they're different estimates of ending inventory and therefore cost of goods sold. Now, in reality, your beginning inventories aren't the same either, right? But for my examples here, these problems I just have at the beginning stay the same, right? Why wouldn't it be the same? Units would be the same across all the methods, of course, right? You have so many units of product. Why would the beginning inventory and dollar amount be the same? Because the ending last month is different. Well, that due to this month's beginning, it'll still be different. So it accumulates over time. You get further and further apart. If you're using LIFO, you have a 100-year-old product. But if you had a 100-year-old product, you'd have a 100-year-old prices under LIFO. Never deplete that inventory. Imagine the FIFO could be. It could basically during that process. You got the idea? They say it'd be a huge difference accumulating over time. Each year the difference might not be very big, but over time it would add up and add up and add up. Okay? Each year is just whatever the change in inventory is. Okay, all right. So then, let's take this information and let's use it to figure each of these methods. Okay? So let's give this a shot. Let's see if we can get that out of the way. Make this guy bigger, maybe. Got some room to work. Whoa. Oh, it just gave me more space. I forgot about that. That's so important. There was a way I could split the screen, wasn't there? Dual page display on. All right. And then let's add a page somewhere here. Ta-da. Thank you. And then let's do this. There. All right, good. Okay, so what would we do under each of these methods? Let's try first, let's do the easy one. Let's do periodic first. I would always do periodic first because it's easy, if I were you guys. Okay, so let's do the periodic methods. And all I got to do with periodic is calculate what? When I buy stuff, I debit purchases, credit accounts payable. I leave the beginning inventory where it was. At the end of the year, I count the inventory. I'm going to adjust the inventory from where it is to where it needs to be. So all I need to do is value the ending inventory. And I compute cost of goods sold. Okay? So let's value the inventory here. How many units do I have left to be? 20. I want to value 20. First in, first out. Which ones am I going to sell under first in, first out? I think you're going to sell off that beginning inventory at 16. What do you guys think? And I think I'm going to sell off some of this first purchase. Which ones am I going to keep? First in, first out. The last ones I bought. I bet I still have those 17. What do you bet? I have those 17 left plus what? 3 more, and where will I go? To the purchase before that. It happens to be my first purchase, but imagine you had 20 purchases now. Got the idea? You go to the one before that. Okay? It's just not a big deal, is it? So let's do it. I want 20 units. So here we go for units. We'll do dollars. Okay? So I want to have 20 units at the end, and I want to know what those cost. Everybody got it? Okay, so we're doing periodic, and this first one is going to be FIFO. First in, first out. So I've got my last ones left. Now this is what hangs people up. They want FIFO to be the ones left in inventory are the first ones. No, no, no. FIFO is talking about what you sold. First in, first out. I sold the first ones I bought, so I sold my beginning inventory. And then I sold my first purchase. Everybody good? What am I going to have left then? My last purchases. Last purchases. So here we go. How many units in my last purchase? 17. So I put that 17 in here. 17 units. Everybody got it? What did those cost per unit? Look at the problem. $11, wasn't it? Okay. What was that? We already computed it. How much was that? One what? 187. We already had that, didn't we, guys? Everybody agree with me? Okay. So I got 17 units at 11. How many more do I need? 3 to make 20. That's all it is. That's going to come from what? The first purchase. So that's some of these 18, isn't it? What did those cost? 10, didn't it? So times 10 bucks. How much is that? $30. What's 187 plus 30? 217. And we are brilliant people. That's my ending inventory. Okay? Now I also want cost of goods sold. I asked for that in the problem, didn't I? But this is too easy to believe, you guys. What's the deal here? What happens? If I have maybe we'll do this first. So we'll do it this way. Because I started that way. Let's do the cost of goods sold approach, okay? Beginning inventory was how much? 16 units, $144, right guys? We'll just do the dollars. Okay. What was purchases? 35 units for $367. I'm just copying this down here, okay? And you wouldn't have to copy it, you could erase it right there. Okay? So what's available? $511. Okay, I just calculated my ending inventory, you guys. How much was it? 217. So if you had 511 available in total during the period, and at the end you have 217 left, how many do you not have? What's cost of goods sold? What's that number? 294? And that is the answer for cost of goods sold. 294. Of course, the 217 and the 294 have to be the total available, right? Oh, that's it, you guys. That's it. Everybody see it? So this is FIFO. Periodic. Okay? That's it. So let's do LIFO periodic. What's that one going to look like? Exactly the same process, except which ones did you sell? The last ones you bought. You are actually pretending that you sold these 17, right? That you didn't even have yet. You sold those before you sold the beginning inventory. And here's the deal. Remember, in periodic, you're not keeping track of which ones you bought and which ones you sold at the next one. You don't know when you sold them. You don't know when you bought them. You calculate the inventory. Okay? It's a real simple accounting system, then, isn't it? Okay? In perpetual, you know. In periodic, you don't. So I'm saying you're selling some you didn't even have yet, but you don't know that. You don't know when you bought it. You don't keep track of it. Okay? You don't have to. Okay? You don't know when you sold it. You don't have to keep track of it. Everybody got it in terms of the inventory. So it makes it simple, but it doesn't make it very accurate, does it? So here we go. Let's do units and dollars again. How many units should we write down here? Well, how many units are we going to have in ending inventory? No, in ending. How many units are you going to have in ending inventory? 20. Yeah, under LIFO. 20. What are you going to have under every single method? How many units you got in ending inventory? 20. How many units did you start with? 16. How many did you buy? 35. How many were available? 51. How many did you keep at the end? 21. How many did you sell? 31. Does it make any difference which method you're using? Not at all. We're just valuing them differently, right? Exactly the same units. Okay, so I want 20 units. Well, which ones are they going to be? I sold the most recent purchases. I kept the oldest stuff. What's the oldest stuff? Beginning inventory. So what was my beginning inventory over here? Yeah. So I got 16 units, right? At what? They cost $9 at the beginning, did they? What's 16 times 9? That was the 144. So I keep those, right? Everybody agree to that? I keep them. Okay, and how many more do I need? I need 4 more in order to make my 20 units. Everybody good? Which 4? From my first purchase, right? Again, if you had 30 purchases, you just go to the very first one, right? Okay, so what was my first purchase? I got 18, so there's enough there. And what did they cost each? They were 10. Okay, good. 10 bucks. So this is easy, right? And I'll try to keep the math easy for you. It's not the math that matters, it's knowing what you're doing that matters. So how much is that ending inventory going to be? Is that going to make a difference in your cost of goods sold? Sure it is. 217 compared to 184 makes a difference, doesn't it? You know what? Anything that you don't have an ending inventory must be where? Cost of goods sold. Got it? It's going to make your cost of goods sold more, which is going to make your net income what? Less, which is really good on your tax return. Right? Save tax dollars. Everybody got it? Not so good on your financial statements. It looks like you made less. Everybody see it? Okay. So what do we have here? This is my ending inventory. What else do I need, guys? Cost of goods sold. Okay, so let's do cost of goods sold. Absolutely. It's not a hard problem if you practice, work at it. So for those units I sold, for those 31 units I sold, right? 20 is the ending inventory in units. 31 is the cost of goods sold, right? If you want to do it in units. Think about it that way. Okay? 31 was what we said we sold right over here. Okay, so what would cost of goods sold be? Well, let's do exactly the same thing here. What would it be, you guys? This is going to be cost of goods sold. We could do it again. No. Do I want to do that or just write it down here? Anyway, just write it down below. Everybody got the idea on how we're doing this cost of goods sold? Let's just change it down here, okay? What are we going to have, okay? What do you want to have for your ending inventory under LIFO? LIFO periodic, what do you want to have? 184. I'll put 184 there. Everybody good? What's 511 less 184? 327? Yeah, 327. So for those 31 units I sold, I think the cost of goods sold is 327. And notice the 184 plus the 327 has to be the 511 available, right? Every time. Everybody good? So we'll just do it that way. That was easy. All right. Everybody got it? Okay. So let's try average. Now on this average, it's going to be weighted average. And the reason is I buy everything before I sell everything. And, I buy everything before I sell anything, before I have my first sale. Okay? So I can add up my beginning inventory plus everything I bought to figure out my average cost. And then my cost of goods sold per unit is going to be that average cost. Couldn't do that if you were doing perpetual, only with periodic. With perpetual, you have to sell whatever you have to sell, right? In order to make the journal entry, in order to compute it. Also, it's more accurate. Okay? So here we go. What's my average? This is too easy to believe, you guys. Let's get rid of this thing we just did. Know that. Okay. Take a look at, can you figure what the average must be here? Let's see. How many are available, you guys? 51 units. And what did they cost? $511. Can anybody calculate the weighted average? Now, don't do this. Don't take the first one's cost 9, the second one's the beginning inventory. The first purchase was 10, the second purchase was 11. Add those three together, divide by 3, and what did you get? You'd get 10, and that would be wrong. Why would it be wrong? Because you have more that cost one price than another. More of some, less of others. So you do a weighted average. That's all it is, okay? So what's our weighted average? How would you get your weighted average? This is really easy. So this is going to be weighted average, still periodic. All these methods are periodic, okay? All right? What are we going to, what's the cost per unit? I'm sorry, what's the cost per unit? $511 divided by what? 51 units. That's all there is to it. The total available is $511 divided by 51 units, and what is the cost per unit? What is that? 10 what? $10.02? Well, I made it too close, didn't I? Okay, anyway, but it doesn't have to be anywhere close, right? It could be 10.20, it could be 9.86 or something. Got the idea? Okay, so you got to calculate it, and it will make a little difference in the answer. Okay. All right. So what are we going to do here then? My ending inventory. What do I want in my ending inventory? How many units are in my ending inventory? 20. Everybody agree with that? So I got 20 units in ending inventory, and what did they cost me on average? 10.02. Everybody got it? So you take it times $10.02, and how much is that? $200.40? Yeah. So we'll keep the 40 cents just to make the point that it's not exactly that 10 bucks. Okay? $200.40. Everybody good? So now I want cost of goods sold. What's cost of goods sold going to be? What do you think, guys, for cost of goods sold? You got it. Just 31 units times the same average. And what I'd recommend is you leave the average in your calculator when you're calculating these, so they add up, right? What's that going to be? 310, about 60? 62. Yeah, 160, you know why? So they'll add up total, rounded. What's $200.40 plus $310.60? It's 511, isn't it? Yeah. So what we could have done is we could plug it in over here, couldn't we, guys? Okay, let's do that. If I put my ending inventory, I got 511, right, of total available. If I put in my ending inventory of $200.40, this will always work. What's $511 less $200.40? It's $310.60, and we are miracle workers. Okay? Does everybody see it? Those are the three easy ones. Make sure you get those. There's one more easy one. You're going to like this. LIFO perpetual. Carefully. LIFO perpetual is exactly the same thing as LIFO periodic. Exactly. That's because you're always selling the old stuff and keeping the new stuff. Right? So if we were to go through all the calculations, we don't need to. What I'd do if I were doing this quiz is I'd just say, now, for perpetual FIFO, perpetual FIFO, same as periodic. And what I'd do is I'd write down ending inventory is 217 and cost of goods sold is 294, and I'd go on with my life. Fast. But if you want, you can go through the analysis. Let's take a look at this. You started with 16 units. See way up here? You started with 16 units. Okay? If I started with these 16 units here, which ones are going to be the ones I sell? First in, first out. This first sale of 12 is going to be what? 12 of those. And what I'll do is I'll keep 4, won't I? 4 of those. I have depleted 12 of that beginning inventory, haven't I? It's gone. Okay? Everybody got the idea? Then what would happen? I buy 18, so there's 22, but when I sell 19, I sell those 4 old ones, right? Under first in, first out. And I would keep what? I guess I'd have 3 left, so I'd have 3 of the most recent purchase, wouldn't I? And then so on, right? And I buy 17 more. Well, you know what? It'd be the 17 and the 3. It's exactly the same ones in my ending inventory, isn't it? So my cost of goods sold has to be exactly the same. So don't bother with calculating, okay? If I only asked for perpetual FIFO, that would be kind of tricky in a way. What would you do? Just calculate periodic and write it down. Why would I calculate it that way? Fast. Okay? You can do it the other way. It's okay. You do a D account like we're going to do for LIFO here and like we're going to do for moving average. But it's much harder to take on. Okay? So they're exactly the same. So that's a useful thing to know. Okay, anyway, so here we go. Let's give perpetual a try. We're going to use the same information over on that other side. Okay? So FIFO is exactly the same, so no big deal. Let's do LIFO. So here we go. What I suggest to you, it's a big T account where you keep track of everything. Okay? And when we get done, we are going to write down that ending inventory and get the cost of goods sold, right? That's what we're after. Every time I'm looking for how many dollars go with those 20 units in ending inventory and how many dollars go with, in this example, 31 units So, by the way, is that a very realistic example? 21 in inventory, or 20 in inventory and only 31 sold? No, I might have 20 in inventory and 200 sold. I much prefer, right? Small inventory, big turnover. There's horrible turnover. I read about turnover. Okay, so LIFO. What do we do? Let's write down what we know. Beginning inventory is how much, you guys? What do we have at the beginning? It's right there, same stuff, right? What is it? 16 units. How much did they cost? $9. And how much was that? $144. So we start, right? That's where we start. Then what's the first thing that happens? Keep them in order, or you'll screw this up, right? You can't sell something until you buy it, right? Okay. So what happens first, a sale or a purchase? Sale. So let's do sale 1 here. How many units did we sell? 12 units. What did they cost? Yeah, I have to sell those. It cost me 9, don't I? Whoops. Yeah, I don't have a choice. I haven't bought any yet. What if I had bought some? I'd be selling those first. Yeah. So if I had a purchase first, what would happen? I put my purchase in, but then when I do a sell, what do? Sell those first. Okay. So I have no choice. I have to sell these. They're the only ones I have. Okay. So what is that 108 going to be? Somebody tell me what I do with that 108. I just calculated what? Cost of goods sold. Yeah, that's cost of goods sold on the first sale. What am I going to use that for? Make my journal entry? Debiting what? Because I just calculated cost of goods sold. What would be a cool thing to debit? Cost of goods sold. And credit what? It's in a T account here called inventory. What are you going to credit? Inventory. Ta-da! You know how to come up with the entry. So what if I asked you for the journal entry? Would you be okay? Big deal. You should be. Thank you, Pete. Write down the obvious. Okay? Of course, it's debit cost of goods sold, credit inventory. That's what we just calculated, right? So we're showing that T account there. Okay. So where am I at right now then? How many units do I have left? Like we said, there were only 4 left after that first sale, right? So it's 4 units. What did they cost me? $9. How much is that? 36. So I know exactly where I'm at. Okay, what's the next thing that happens? In terms of the dates, if you're looking at the quiz in front of you there, what's the next thing that happens? They had a purchase, didn't they? We're keeping them in date sequence here. So purchase 1, how many was that? 18, there it is, right? 18 units at what? $10, and now I have 180. Next time I do a sale, which ones am I going to sell first? Those 18. No, this is LIFO. Last in, first out. I'm going to sell those 18 before I sell the 4 from the beginning inventory. Right, guys? Everybody see it? Okay. Easy to flip-flop these things. So then what happened next? So, by the way, my inventory is now 22 units, right? Total of 4 and 18, right? And then 36 plus 180, I'd have 216 in inventory. Everybody see it? I'm keeping track of it on an ongoing basis, aren't I? It's perpetual. I know how much I've got, and I know what they cost me. But we have to keep, these are called LIFO layers, by the way, and we have to keep track of the layers, right? One after another. How many LIFO layers could you have in a company? Oh, man. Right? Hundreds, I suppose, right? For an individual inventory item. Thank goodness for computers. Imagine keeping this by hand. They used to keep them on cards and pieces of paper. No wonder nobody wanted to be an accountant. Okay, anyway, so I guess those were bookkeepers doing that. Cost accounts. All right, so we got this 22 units, 126, or $216, I'm sorry. What happens next? Sale 2. And I can give you as many sales. I won't give you too many. Just it takes forever to calculate it. Just enough so I know you know what you're doing. How many did we sell the second time? Second time. It's 19. There it is, right? Okay. So 19 units. I want 19. Well, that's a little problematic because the last purchase was only 18, huh? So which ones do I sell first? 18 units at $10, but that's not enough, is it? So that'd be 180. Everybody see it? And then I need one more to make 19. I think that makes 19, right? That'd give me my 19 units. And how much did that one cost? $9, because I'm going back to the earlier inventory. Everybody see it? Not a big deal. Once you get your head around this. Nothing is, I guess. So what do we got? $9 there? So how much is the cost of goods sold for sale two? $189. 180 and 9. It's 189. And what you could do now, of course, is you could figure out what your inventory is at this point. What do you think it is? I sold all 18 of those, right? And I sold one of this 4 I had left, so how many are left now? 3 units that cost me $9. Excellent. What's that going to be? How many dollars? It's 27, isn't it? Well, what was the 216 I had here? 136 plus 180? What's 216 less the 180 I just sold? It's 27, isn't it? Everybody see it? And the total units I had was 22, and I just sold off 19, so there's 3 left. Big deal. Okay? So it's just tracking it. All right? So this 189 again, what's that? Just like this 108 was. What is it? Cost of goods sold. Debit what and credit what? That's credit inventory right there, isn't it? What would you debit? Cost of goods sold. Got it. Okay? All right. And then one other thing happened, huh? There's a purchase. I get finished with a sale. I get finished with a purchase. Who cares? Right? And it's just glad it's done when you're done. Okay? So purchase 2 was how much? How many did I buy last there? 17 more, right? So I got 17 units. What'd they cost me? And we have inflation here. Costs are going up, right? So 17 times 11 is how much? 187. We already calculated it. See what's nice about calculating it really early? Writing it down either on your quiz or in the key account there. You got it. You can use it over and over. So that's the last thing that happens, isn't it? So what's my ending inventory? How many units is it? 20 units. We know we got the units right at least, don't we? Right? 20 units. And what's my total inventory over here? 27 and 187 is how much? 214. Okay? 214 is my ending inventory. What's my cost of goods sold? It's going to be 108 plus 189. Add those two together for your total cost of goods sold. How much is that? $297? Everybody good? Let's prove ourselves right. Go back over here. We had 511, didn't we? 51 that cost me 511. Same company, right? Okay, just different accounting methods. What's the 20 in ending inventory this time? 214, right, guys? Everybody agree? 214. So what's 511 less 214? 2 what? 297. It's a miracle. That's exactly the same as we had over here. Well, of course it is. Right? Everybody got it? So do this, good. Okay? Practice a little bit, guys. Do practice, please. Okay? You know what's interesting with this? A number of students in a typical class get all of it right. A number of students get absolutely none of it right. Screw them all. And then probably, maybe it's one-third in a typical semester, right? Get only periodic right, can't get it perfect. Right? So what do you need to do? Learn how to do one way, another way, get it straight in your head, and nail it. This is going to make a difference in what the grade distribution is like. Several. But there are a couple of problems that do. The cash flow statement I already mentioned, that's going to do that. Okay, so each individual thing, each chapter is just one thing, right? There's other information in this chapter, there's stuff you have to know, and it's going to be on the quiz, and you know that, right? Okay, but this is the big thing, isn't it? Right? Being able to get your head around what? Perpetual versus periodic, FIFO, LIFO, and averages, right? Can you do it? Can you account for it? Okay, value them and account for it. Okay, so we got one more to do, don't we? Everybody see that one? We're good? let's try. Oh, every time I do that, I panic. All right. Let's do the last one. What do we have left, you guys? Perpetuals. Moving average. And it's called a moving average instead of a weighted average. Why? What do you suppose that is? It's always changing. Weighted, you buy everything and then weighted cost, right? Get the weighted average cost after you buy everything. By the way, in weighted average, be sure and include the beginning inventory, right, guys? Include the beginning part of the weighted average for us. Okay? So here, what we're going to do this time, this is still going to be perpetual. But this time it's moving average. And if you can do the LIFO, the moving average is just not a big deal. What do we start with in our beginning inventory? 16 units. How much did they cost? $9. That was $144. And again, in real life, it'd be a different inventory, right? Beginning of one time, beginning of the next. What's the first thing that happens? Yeah, you sold units. So this time, sale one, the cost of goods sold, is going to be the same as it was under LIFO because I haven't bought anything yet. If I bought something, it wouldn't be the same, right, guys? You have to calculate it. Beware when you do the quiz. Okay. All right. So how many units did I sell? 12 units. What was the average cost? You guys, I haven't bought any yet. $9. How much is that? 108. Debit cost of goods sold and credit inventory, right? Okay. Where am I at now? I have 4 units. Cost me $9. That's 36 bucks. Okay? All right, then things start changing. What happens? There's a purchase, isn't there? Every time I do a purchase, my average will change unless I purchase it for exactly the average I had before, right? See off of that. Okay? Prices change. So how many units was the first purchase, guys? Back to our first purchase over here. What was it? 18? What did it cost? $10. This gets easy, doesn't it? How much is that? 180. Now, I have 2 different purchases. The beginning inventory, right? It's a separate purchase from the purchase. What am I going to have to do? Calculate an average. Did you notice when I sold, I didn't calculate an average? Why would I? I'm selling them at the average. I don't have to. I only have to calculate an average when I buy something. So here we go. How many units do we have available, you guys? 22 units. And I'm going to calculate an average purchase price. So how much do they cost total? 216. Take 216 and divide it by 22 and you're there. 981. Okay. And it's kind of nice to leave it in your calculator so your math works out pretty good, right? Because it's rounded always. Computer doesn't care. It keeps a lot of decimal places. So 981 is the average one, right? So that's the moving average. We went from 9 to 981 because I bought something that cost more. Okay? So what do I want to do now? When I sell, what's it going to be at the average? What if I do another purchase? Well, compute a new average, right? Before you record any cost of goods sold. Okay, so the next thing that happened in the simple example I gave you was that we sold some, right? Sale number 2. And I want cost of goods sold on this one. So this is easy, right? You don't have to do 2 layers. It's all put together. It's simple, right? Simpler. When it used to cost a lot of money, believe it or not, it was extremely expensive to buy storage on a computer. I mean expensive. Early computers would have filled this room and would have cost millions, even back then. Now your phone has more capacity than those computers did by far, more capability. So now memory is cheap, right? Okay. I can never keep up with what they measure it in. Right? It's not gigabytes anymore, is it? What came after that? What is it? Yeah. They have to keep inventing new ones. It's interesting we're going prehistoric to create the new ones. Yeah. Yeah. So bigger and bigger, so it's no big deal, right? So, anyway, so now there's not much motivation to do moving average unless you already have your system set up that way, right? Because the averages are what? They're sort of an average of FIFO and LIFO, aren't they? So why wouldn't you just do one or the other one if you're setting up the system now? Okay, but anyway, they're still acceptable. These companies still use them. Okay, so here we go. What would sale 2 be? How many units do we sell? Is it 19? Okay, same units, right? What's the cost? 981. You guys are there. You got it made. What's 19 times 981?
186.39.
Okay, so we'll just round it to 186 if that's okay with you guys. Journal entry for that? Debit what? Cost of goods sold. Credit inventory. You got it. Merchandise inventory. Okay. So after that sale, how many units do I have left? You know, you had 22, and now you sold 19. What do you think, guys? 3 units. What do they cost? I had them in at 981, and I sold them at 981 cost of goods sold. That's not my sales price, right? Sales price is more than that. Okay, sold. So 981 on those, right? What's 981 times $3? Or 3 units, I'm sorry, $9.81 times 3 units. 20 about? It's 216 less 186, about 20 is $20. What was it? Oh, it's about $30. Come on, Keith. 216 less 186, about $30. Real close. Okay? So we put the pennies in it. Okay, everybody see it? So what's my ending inventory? About 30 bucks. Why does it not look right to me?
We still have another purchase.
Oh, we have another purchase. Come on, Keith. Okay, how many in our second purchase? 17. There we go. That's 20 units. Okay. So I'm up to my ending inventory of 20 units. What did those cost? And how many dollars is that? 187, was it? So what's 30 plus 187? 217 would be my ending inventory. Okay, there's my ending inventory. What's the average, by the way? 217 divided by 20. You don't need it now, but if you were going to do another cost of goods sold for the next sale, how much was it? That's 1085. Okay. So if I did more sales, what would I have? 1085 is cost of goods sold going forward. Make sense? It's easy. Sort of. Okay, so my ending inventory then is 217, right, guys? So here we had 511. That 144 plus 367 is 511. Take away your ending inventory of 217 for those 20 units, and what do you have? 294 cost of goods sold. Okay, imagine these are millions. It makes a difference, right? Okay, so in my little example, it doesn't look like much. So cost of goods sold would be 294. Can we prove ourselves right? Sure. What's 108 here plus 186? Those are your two debits to cost of goods sold, right? What do they total? 294. They do, don't they? Can everybody do it? Crank on this till you can, right? Make up examples, change things around. Okay? You've been doing that already? Okay. So we got 15 minutes left. Something else you'd like to look at? I wanted to make sure I got through this. Do you have any questions about how to do perpetual, periodic, LIFO, FIFO, average? How many of you had already worked this problem? It made a lot of sense to you guys. I wasted your time. Nothing like going to class and somebody covers something. That's fantastic. Just solidifies it, right? Although is it easier now to work the problem after I showed you how to do it? Yeah. But you learn it nearly as well as you figured it out yourself. Not even close. Not even close. Always do things in advance. Why do we assign you homework before we talk about it? So you know what the hell we're talking Otherwise, it's just kind of to sit there. You know, I call it the deer in the headlights. So it's amazing. You guys did read the chapter, though, didn't you? Everybody read it. That really helped. Big. But what did you work across to? I showed you how to do it in the chapter, don't they? It looks a little different from when I do it, but it's the same stuff. Right? Same answers. Okay. Anyway, so. All right, anyway. So what would you guys like to do? Sure. That's one on, let's see, let's go back to view. Oops, it's that. View single page, somewhere, there it is. Turn that off. Okay. And then let's do this. Oh, that didn't work. Think about this. There it is. Okay. Let's see if we can find this. All right. This one, all right, this is that one where we did one of these in class, okay? It's exactly the same, well, pretty close to the same thing. I want you to come up with, I want you to come up with the balances in the accounts. But don't you have to do the journal entries to get the balances in the accounts? Yeah. So it's the same thing, just worded a little differently. Same idea. Well, let's go for it. So what do we know in this situation? Compute the ending balances in doubtful accounts, allowance for doubtful accounts, and bad debt expense, assuming what? What was my ending balance in accounts receivable that's over there? How much was it? 120. All right. And what's my balance of sales? Yeah, that's the ending balance in accounts receivable. Yeah. Yeah, that's the ending. You're right. 600,000 in sales. Okay. Yeah, we don't have any activity going into those, do we? Okay, and then what are the two accounts we're going to be messing with, of course? The allowance goes with accounts receivable, right, guys? Allowance for doubtful accounts. It's going to be on the balance sheet. That's the contra account receivable. What's the balance in that account right now? In the first one here in A. What's the balance in there? 2,000 credit balance. Okay, so I got 2,000 here. Everybody agree? What's my net realizable account receivable right now? I guess it's 120 less 2, it's 198, huh? But they've already made adjustments, written off accounts, right? Okay, and then what other account would I like to know? Bad debt expense. What do you think the balance would be in that if they haven't made any sort of an allowance yet, replenished the allowance? It's nothing, right? Okay, so let's calculate it, and then let's do the journal entry, and that'll tell us what the balance is going to be, huh? Okay, so it says doubtful accounts are estimated at 2% of credit sales. Were all those credit sales, by the way? Yeah, does it have to all be credit sales? What if I said 90% of that 600,000 was credit sales? Could you take 600,000 times 90%, get 540, and that's your sales, your credit sales? Yeah, so read carefully. Okay, anyway. So 600 times what, 2%? What's 2% of the 600,000? What's 2% of 600,000? 12,000. What account do I want to be 12,000? Now stop and think. I am estimating my allowance based on sales. What financial statement is sales on? The income statement. Gee, I wonder where bad debt expense is. On the income statement. I wonder what bad debt expense is. It's my estimate of the sales I'm never going to collect. What is the allowance going to be? On the balance sheet with accounts receivable. If I made my estimate based on accounts receivable, what would I be estimating? The balance in the allowance. I'm estimating based on sales. What did I just estimate? The balance in bad debt expense. So right now it's 0, and I wish it was what? 12,000. Is there anyone who can't tell me how to get from 0 to 12,000? Of course you can, right? I want to put 12 in here, and that forces me to do what? It's going to be debit bad debt expense for 12,000. It forces me to credit what for 12,000? The allowance. Because this is how I replenish the account, right? So 12,000 goes in here. So what's my ending balance and allowance for doubtful accounts? 14,000. What's my net realizable receivable at the end of the year? 120 less 14 is 106, right guys? You could answer that question too, couldn't you? So what did this ask for? It asked for the balance, didn't it? What's the balance in the allowance? 14, that's that answer. What's the balance in bad debt expense? 12,000, that's that answer, big deal. What if it asked for the journal entry? Give me the journal entry. What if it asked for net realizable accounts receivable? How much do you think you're going to collect? 120 less 14. Got it? 186. You could answer all those, couldn't you? Everybody good with this? Easy? Kind of. Do it a few times. All right? So that's A. What happens if it's B? What do we do in B here, you guys? Says debit balance of 3,000, and I want 2.5% of credit sales. Oh, so it's a little bit different estimate, isn't it? But what are we going to do? I've got accounts receivable. How much do we say was in there? 120,000, right? Okay. How much did we say sales was? 600,000. Allowance has what in it? Debit of 3,000? Was, right? How'd that happen? How did they get to a debit of 3,000 in the allowance account? You know, the contract count. How did they get a debit balance? Underestimated. They underestimated their bad debt last year, didn't they? So this year when they wrote them off, they wrote off more than the balance. So if they just started out with 10,000 at the beginning of the year in that account, right? And now it's got a debit of 3, how much do they write off? 13. Because what do you do when you write off accounts? Debit, allowance for doubtful accounts because you're giving up, right? And credit accounts receivable. And that would reduce the allowance from a credit of 10 to 0 plus another 3 debit, right? For 13 would make it a 3 debit. Doesn't mean you're going to collect another 3, right? Because it's a debit balance. Your net realizable receivable looks kind of funny now, doesn't it? 120 plus 3 is 123. Well, you don't really think you're going to collect that because you haven't made the provision yet anyway, have you? So now what we want to do is record the entry. What's it going to be? What did it say, 2.5%? So this time it's 600,000 times 2.5%. How much is that, you guys? That's 15 grand. So what account do you want to be 15,000? Bad debt expense because it's based on sales. Excellent. Right now that's 0 if we put nothing in it. I want it to be 15,000. Does anybody have an idea how to get from 0 to 15,000? Probably debit it for 15. What are you going to have to credit for 15? The allowance. You don't have to write down the journal entry here, do you? It's pretty obvious. What's that going to leave me for allowance? 12,000. We're thrilled. Okay? So if we did want to write the entry, if I asked for the entry, what would you write? Debit, bad debt expense for the 15, right guys? And credit what? Allowance for doubtful accounts for 15. So that's the amount added to both accounts, okay? But because I've got this debit balance of 3, when I credit it for 15, I'm just at 12, aren't I? What's my net realizable account receivable? 120 less 12, is that 188, or 108? Right, guys? Okay. I have no idea why that eraser's running all over the place. Clever. Okay, anyway. All right. So, what would my answer be, by the way? Allowance for doubtful accounts, 12,000. Bad debt expense, 15. Okay. So let's try C. what's it going to look like? Credit balance of 2,000 in the allowance. So here we go. Accounts receivable, still 120. Allowance has a credit balance of how much? 2. Sales, still 600, wasn't it? Bad debt expense would start with 0. Okay. What am I estimating now? It says my bad debts are going to be 10% of accounts receivable. What's 10% of accounts receivable? $12,000. What account do I want to be 12,000? What goes on the balance sheet with accounts receivable that shows the portion of accounts receivable you expect never to collect? That's the allowance, isn't it? I want the allowance to be 12, not bad debt expense. Does everybody see what we're doing here? It's just not a big deal, is it? If you estimate based on your receivables, you're estimating the allowance. If you estimate based on sales, you're estimating the bad debt expense. Yeah, by definition, that's what they are. Everybody got it? We beat this to death last time, didn't we? Is that making sense? It's not magic. It's not memorized. It just is. What is bad debt expense? It's the portion of the sales you're never going to collect on the income statement. Right? What is allowance for doubtful accounts? It's the portion of receivables you're never going to collect on the balance sheet. That's what they are. Okay. So here we go. I would like this to be 12 and it's 2. How much are you going to add? 10. I'm going to credit the allowance for 10, which is going to force me to do what? Yeah. Please don't do what a lot of students do to me and give me different journal entries for every one of these. It's a different amount, but it's the same entry, isn't it? What's the entry? Always. Debit bad debt expense and credit what? Allowance. Every single time that you record a replenishment of bad debts, right? The allowance. And record the bad debt expense for the period. It's going to be debit bad debt expense, credit allowance. Don't do something else. That's what it is. Every time. Okay? So how much is that going to be? 10,000. Okay. There we got it. So we only have one more, and you're going to really like this. It says the debit balance of 3,000 in account allowance before we start. What's the journal entry going to be, you guys? I want. Got a debit balance of 3, and I want to be 10% of accounts receivable. What am I going to have to do? Same thing as last time, just with different numbers, right? That's it. What's accounts receivable?
120.
120. Yeah, so we're going to be what? 12,000? What's the allowance this time? Debit, right? For 3. What do I want it to be? Which is a credit of 12. So how much do you have to add to it? 15. What's that going to force bad debt expense to be? 15. You guys got it. So there we go. That's what's going to happen, right? And sales were 600, but sales don't have anything to do with it now because we're not estimating based on sales, right? We're estimating based on accounts receivable. Just like on the first two, accounts receivable didn't matter, really. Okay, so it'd still be debit bad debt expense and credit allowance, wouldn't it? Allowance for doubtful accounts. But this time, how much? 15,000. So that's a debit. That's a credit. Okay, all right. So those are your answers, huh? I want the allowance to be 12, and I want bad debt expense to be 15. There. Can you nail this one? What's that? Or yes? I didn't even run over it. However, today you can stick around if you want. So if you want to work some more of them or do something else, work on anything, we can do 45 minutes with you guys before intermediate to do their quiz. And actually, if there's another room or something, you can keep going, I guess, after that. I'm good with that. Because I know nothing could be more exciting than working this stuff. Monday morning and going for afternoon.